Brownfield program actually, I think, is a vehicle for wide social and economic transformation in downtowns of America, in population centers, and in economic centers. I think the beauty of a Brownfield project, because it is that it is really a community revitalization project.
The definition of brownfields includes those sites which are highly contaminated, all the way down to those properties that are perceived to be contaminated, but no one really knows.
What can we do from an environmental perspective to try and address blight, to try and address contamination, to try and help bring some sort of environmental cleanup to these locations?
You know, what made the Brownfields program innovative was getting beyond the box.
We're talking about increased land values, increased taxes to the community, increased jobs.
It's really the quintessential public-private partnership program.
Puts money and technical resource in the hands of communities to identify the opportunities for themselves and a vision for themselves.
Since the Environmental Protection Agency introduced the Brownfields program as a pilot project in 1995, the program has dramatically transformed communities across America.
In the 20 years since the Brownfields program started, the evolution has been almost as comparable as you would say to the personal computer industry. I don't think anyone imagined that it would have come this far. We took a government pilot project that was giving small grants to communities, and it's turned into an industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry.
Well, the Brownfields program is a child of the Superfund program. In the early 90s, Superfund was in a period of ferment. There was tension, friction over the cost, the pace, the litigiousness of the cleanups, and people were looking for a whole range of ways to improve things.
It's a lens that helps us understand that there are not only environmental issues, but there are a convergence of other issues that proliferate in brownfields communities. Problems that contribute to unemployment, problems that contribute to poverty, health disparities, environmental disproportionate impacts.
Perception of the public that it is a brownfield and it's contaminated, that it presents risk. The perception to a potential developer is that there's contamination and it's going to cost a lot of money and take a lot of time to clean it up.
Well, I think you've seen in the 20 years of the Brownfields program, you will see how attitudes have changed. These sites were historically not touched. There was fear, and they were left to sit fallow.
What you're finding were whole swaths of neighborhoods where there were industrial, commercial properties that had some sort of contamination. There was literally a red line drawn around them, and banks would not loan in that area. We worked very hard with the banks, which, to their credit, recognized that there was an opportunity here if we could get around some of the liability concerns that they had. And the positives were so great, it was so obvious that this made sense. We just needed to clean up the sites a little bit and let people feel comfortable that it was safe to work there again.
The initial response to the Brownfields program was overwhelming. We were swamped by applications.
Some of the most successful ingredients in a brownfield project, it actually begins with an inclusive process to make sure all of the stakeholders, local residents, non-governmental organizations, a multitude of local government entities, as well as businesses coming together to do a shared vision that ensures that the result of the brownfield project serves all.
The success of this program can be seen in virtually every community across the country. That is the most heartwarming part of this program, to be able to go back to these communities just a few years later and see these properties back in action.
One of those communities is Cleveland, Ohio.
Brownfield redevelopment, I think, started in earnest. Really, you can trace its roots back to the city of Cleveland. Starting way back in the late 1800s, it was 20 or 30 different types of manufacturing facilities, including a coal gas plant and very, very heavy manufacturing end uses.
Well, the Cuyahoga River was an industrial sewer. The steel mills discharged directly into the river. and it was filled with petroleum, chemicals of all kinds, coal waste, discharging into the river, and debris.
One thing that I never thought I would see during my lifetime was the redevelopment that's going on in the urban core. The evolution of the brownfield redevelopment movement and program has been dramatic over the last 20 years.
When we understood that we had as many as 14,000 sites in the area, and redevelopment occurring then in outlying counties, we knew we had to do something about it. The US EPA staff came in and said, what if we gave you a few dollars here, could you do a pilot? And the rest is history.
Brownfields revitalization projects have led to many tangible benefits for the city of Cleveland.
You see iconic projects like the Flats East Bank Development Project, which is a $750 million investment. It is a 23-story building with 500,000 square feet of new office space, about 250 residential units, restaurants.
The Cleveland Lakefront Nature Preserve is a little gem. It's hard to even call it a brownfield site because it was just a huge dump of the dredge spoils, of course, from the Cuyahoga River and our navigation channel. A variety of animals live on it now. It's a great birding site. It's a good example of what a brownfields can become.
We've been operating much of our program these past 2 years, including our area-wide planning program, under the HUD, DOT, EPA Partnership for Sustainable Communities, really working to align federal funding and to help focus federal funding in communities so it's more effective.
It was incredibly helpful to us to have this planning process, to include residents in the neighborhood in the process, and then to do that phase 1 site assessment work that really helped us understand what's the history of this area, what used to be here, what do we need to be aware of. The Health Tech Corridor is an area, it's about 4 miles long. It's between downtown and University Circle. There's a place down the middle connected by our new Health Line bus rapid transit. And unfortunately, that area was all vacant buildings, brownfields, vacant land, and to me, it said opportunity. So we've assessed 40 acres in that area. We've cleaned up 28 acres. We now have over 400,000 square feet of new buildings, 86% leased. We have 1,900 jobs that have been created and another over 1,000 jobs that have been retained.
The successful brownfields redevelopment is about the people. It's about jobs for people. It's about youth development for people. It's about housing for people. It's about transportation to jobs for people. It's about building businesses for people.
New brownfields redevelopment in Cleveland also includes a velodrome, a training venue for recreational and competitive cyclists. And Battery Park, a former battery manufacturing facility, is now the site of a residential neighborhood overlooking Lake Erie.
It's a prime location for residential, but it took a lot of time and patience. It took a developer who was willing to work with us over a period of time. And not only did we clean up the footprint that was the battery facility, but then all around it, other housing came in. So from that initial investment has come so much more investment, and that's really the key to brownfields.
Not all brownfields sites are environmentally contaminated.
A perfect example of the type of property that is suspected to have contamination but was demonstrated not to have contamination would be like the Huff Vineyards project.
Fully a third of Huff had burned down. Where my home was a gas station. Part of our mission is to stabilize lives. This whole thing is about creating wealth. And how do you use inner city land and create a triple net bottom line? Reuse the land, grow something green, and create wealth in the form of jobs. We monetize it. This is just not a beautification, it's a jobs creation program. In any community, there are teenagers, 13, 14, 15-year-old boys that act out and do inappropriate things. We don't have that problem because we hire them.
Another community with a history of brownfields success is Lowell, Massachusetts.
When I was a kid growing up in Lowell, I didn't know we had canals in Lowell because they were all covered in brush and trash. People used our canals as dumping grounds. But then when we started cleaning them up and making them a nice area, it really improved the quality of life. I mean, we actually have canal boat tours in Lowell.
Lowell, Massachusetts was the country's first major planned industrial center. It begins the production of cotton cloth on a massive, unprecedented scale in the 1820s. There's a dye house that's sitting right up against the canal, and there are just thousands of gallons of excess textile dyes being dumped directly into the canalways. At this site in Swamp Locks, this big white rush of clear water coming out behind us would probably have been pink, red, purple.
As with most post-industrial cities, Lowell's industrial heritage has left a legacy of brownfields sites throughout the city. Both the perception and the reality of contamination affects the development possibilities of these sites. Redeveloping brownfield sites and redeveloping former industrial mills in the city has been the primary source of growth for the city's tax base, for the city's economic health, and for the city's population.
Lowell is the home of numerous brownfields projects, such as the Tsongas Center, an 8,000-seat sports and entertainment venue, and LeLacheur Ballpark, where the Boston Red Sox Single-A affiliate plays.
And it sells out every game. The property that it was built on would never have been able to be built if it wasn't for a Brownfields grant. It's located on a former dumping ground.
Lowell's largest single redevelopment project over the past couple of decades is the Hamilton Canal District.
The Hamilton Canal District features the Appleton Mills Lofts, innovative, affordable housing for artists.
The Appleton Mills, which had been virtually abandoned or largely abandoned for almost 50 years, was right in the center of this district.
And the 900-space Edward Early parking garage.
It's one of the best revenue-producing entities we have in the city of Lowell.
Brownfields grants will revitalize other neighborhoods of Lowell, such as the Ayers City Industrial Park.
The Ayers City Industrial Park is a sort of downtrodden area of the city. When I was growing up, it was mostly junk car lots. Today, it's still an industrial area, but not a very aesthetically pleasing area.
Transforming brownfields sites successfully involves many factors.
The most important elements of a brownfields project, first, you need community champions, one or more community champions. Secondly, you need a vision. They need a vision for what they want at this brownfield site. Third, you need community engagement and community knowledge of what's going on.
When we had the public hearing before the Lowell City Council to approve the Ayers City Industrial Park Plan, the neighbors came to the meeting and they spoke in favor of it because they live around the area. They want it to look better. They want the values of their houses and businesses to increase.
When there's a good idea in Lowell, you hear the city manager championing it, you hear the mayor championing it, you hear the planning director championing it, but you also hear the university chancellor championing it. So at the micro level, there's no question that brownfields are critical to the health and sustainability of cities. And at the macro level, redeveloping brownfields is critical to the sustainability of our environment.
I don't see any end of the necessity to use this model and use the rules and the financing we have for development of any property.
I think the future is rich. And one of the things about cities is that they're in great locations. That's why people move there to begin with. Now that we know how to clean them up, we have standards in place that tell us and guide us, and funding that's out there to be able to work with, we can say, no, this land is a fantastic location, let's work on it, let's figure it out, and let's make it happen.
The Brownfields story is one of revitalization, resilience, and renewal. What began 20 years ago as a pilot project has become a national movement that is transforming the way we think about reuse, smart growth, and community redevelopment. However, the story doesn't end here. The Brownfields program continues to evolve and is ready to meet new challenges by fostering the next generation of brownfields innovation.